And again, I hope I pronounce your name correctly, Arun Benaikia from Sath Inc. So welcome, Arun.
Yep, thank you. Arun Benaikia, thank you. Wow, there's a lot of good information around here. I feel a little inadequate. So I'll start with something that I know, a quote from Shakespeare. What's in a name that we call a rose? By any other name would it smell as sweet? A rose we call a violet, would it smell like rose? What's in a name? My name is Arun. Who are we? Is our identity our name? Is it our DNA? Our attributes, our metadata, our beliefs and values? Who am I? Okay, I'm still going to start with an apology here. Did not want to give you guys an existential anxiety. Identity is complicated, as we heard. And my name is Arun, and I am a nerd who likes to quote Shakespeare to make a point. At this conference, you heard about identity management, about cloud first, about automation, security models, zero trust, context, authentication, authorization, lots and lots of good information. And my favorite, AI. Lots of ways of doing identity management. There are many challenges that we face. I've been doing identity management for the last about 20 years. We face silos, we face dogma, politics, and we face different people, different organizations, different parts of the organization going in different directions. We hear most projects fail, 30 to 70%, depending on who you listen to. And by your own experience, you probably have seen more failures of identity management systems and implementations or inadequate implementation than you have seen success. I have. So again, I'm not telling you anything new here that you haven't heard. I have to, okay, sorry. I'm doing two devices, but yeah. I'm not telling anything that you haven't heard here, and I'm not here to profess what is the right way of doing identity management, because there's only one way of doing the right way of doing identity management that is your way. It could be attribute-based access, role-based access, authentication, authorization. How do you get it your way? How do you go to Burger King and order stuff and get it? So that's what I'm getting at. Again, identity management is often called a journey because we stumble so many times and we kind of get it sort of right after a while. After so many years of doing this thing, and recently I stumbled across, by happenstance, something called systems theory. Identity management, like a lot of other things, is best viewed, in my opinion, with a model of systems theory. What is a systems theory? I mean, it's very fundamental. It's a basic idea is the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Let's take an example. Baking a cake. You lay out all the ingredients, and if you don't put them in the right order, right temperature, right way, you do not get a cake. You get ingredients and a mishmash. But to bake a cake, you have to get it right. And if you're like me, who like to bake cake with basic raw ingredients, you can count on how many times you have fumbled baking a cake till you get it right. So what does it have to do with cloud native and cloud native? So let's start with cloud native and the cloud. Cloud native is not the cloud. Cloud native is a new way of putting together ingredients to be truly agile. And I want to talk about how with identity management, you can take systems theory, you can take baking a cake, example of baking a cake, and fail and fail and fail and eventually get it right. But what does cloud native has to go to do with it? These are some bullet points that you can get on the web. Cloud native is scalable, public, private, immutable, resilient, blah, blah, keywords. I can talk about these technical details, but we have only 20 minutes. This will take a lot more time, but let's get to this part. In cloud native, I talked about having failures before you get success. A cloud, and we've heard of Agile. Agile has been in discussions for over about 15 to 20 years. Started with extreme programming, and now it's DevOps, different iterations of Agile. You had development, you have operations. And Agile says you keep on failing, you keep on testing, and you keep on doing things to get it right. In 20 years of doing identity management, the tools that we were doing, we had agility in our process, but the tools and the infrastructure that we dealt with would not get us the failures fast enough that we could be successful. So when we hear identity management implementations fails, there are a lot of failures, we are just an iteration into it, but each iteration, if it takes 6 months to a year to keep on iterating a full identity management cycle, yes, it will consider it as a failure from a leadership quite a few times before you get it right. And the year-long project becomes a 5-year-long project till you really get it right, and the software is obsolete by then. So with a cloud-native infrastructure, cloud-native platform, you get to fail fast. You get to you get to complete your full implementation cycles. When I say full implementation cycles, I am talking not just about take a pilot, a couple of target systems, or you add a group, a department of people. I'm talking about the entire implementation. You start off with building your object model, your subject model. Are you going to have human accounts, non-human accounts? You're going to do role-based access, attribute-based access, context access, certifications, all your business processes. The time it takes to implement all of those things, you need tools that work, that give you the speed so you can eventually become agile. And identity management is just catching up to this truly agile cloud-native implementations. And I'm talking about full implementation cycles. I'm not talking about months. I'm talking about weeks. You start off with your first draft of your business processes implemented. You get your certifications. You get your role-based access. You get all your fundamentals in here. You go take it online, and then you go iterate. Every 6 weeks, instead of going from 6 months, every 6 weeks, you have a newer version, and you are able to go to that success at much faster rate with cloud native. Again, cloud native is the raw material for going agile. Now, what does it mean? Let's talk about cloud native. So if you're implementing, if you're selecting systems, few fundamentals. API access. We have to have standards-based API. Every single thing that you do, you want to provision an account, you want to create a request, you want to approve a task, every API must be supported, because my business process and their business process and somebody else's business process, they are going to be different. I need to have attributes that can go from 50 to 500 without breaking APIs. I need to be able to change my user interface, which is my single page application, either Angular, React, that's again, cloud native. Stateless functions, small functions that, small programs that just work, they do their job and do their job really well. Think about Linux, Unix systems, the greps of the world, the ACK, these things just work and they only do one thing and they do one thing really well. And you build your system on top of those Lego blocks. And then the fourth one is schemaless data. Data changes. The meaning of data changes. My name, my attributes, my location, everything is mutable, and we don't want to fight a rigid data set. Cloud native is not just a development model, it's also operational. Containerization. We take the functions, make it into containers, get it ready, get it working. Dynamic management, deployment, automation, these things, again, reducing, you have your code change, your git commit goes in, it goes into your pipeline, automates, goes into development integration, and boom, you completed your operations part. And everything is about services. Services does not mean it has cloud services, infrastructure, platform, software, container. I'm not going to go into all these details, but these are the fundamental building blocks of what we call cloud native. An example I'll give you, one of the largest clients that we work with, this is a Fortune 50 client, and they're a multi-billion-dollar organization, but they could not give us a development environment for 3 months. Ended up going down to Micro Center, bought a server, and we did the development for them on our machines because they just could not put the infrastructure in time. And now we're talking about infrastructure as a services. If you need identity management, it's all the infrastructure has to support, and that's the cloud native. All the different aspects of containers, orchestration, automation. I'm going to leave these keywords with you. You can do all your own research, but I'm happy to explore and expand each of these things, how identity management applications, how identity management uses these building blocks to, again, deliver a fail-fast model to be successful. Cloud native is also culture. We have seen our traditional waterfall, and I think I'm just trying to keep some minutes for question and answer. And then there's maturity metrics, so you have everything in cloud native is not just an infrastructure or way of development or way of operations. Your culture, how you design and you produce your product, the team, the architecture, maintenance operations. These are all different aspects of measuring cloud native. You have, just like maturity model, 20 years ago, CMMI maturity model, you have maturity model in cloud native. How about you have different, from no process to cloud native with collaborative data driven. So this information, I have it in my reference. And cloud native identity management, all business operations are, again, available through API, everything from provisioning, reconcile, certify. It has a mature authorization model. Every UI, every click gets authorized. Every API call is authorized. Every event has an authorization and auditability. So did it come in from a LMS system to or HR system, or when an approval button got clicked on the user interface and when a entitlement got provisioned by role, everything is authorized. And with a zero trust model, which is basically talking about in the computer science kernel operating system world, my kernel space is shrunk and my user space has become big. And if getting a little nerdy on this one about kernel and user space, kernel space is your trust circle. And being able to extend your authorization model, and then being able to deliver your cloud native application on-prem, on infrastructure as a service and software as a service. You can read more about cloud native patterns on cnpatterns.org and the book. And thank you. Join me for more of this discussion on our monthly webinar and meeting series. As I said, it's called Talk Nerdy to Me, and I'd love to do that.
Well, thank you very much, Arun. That was a really interesting presentation. And kind of my first thought was, yes, that's absolutely the way we should do it. But the second question was like, how and with whom? Isn't that the biggest problem? How can you fail quickly? How can you iterate quickly if you don't have the vendors, the partners which can do the same?
Thank you for giving me a nice question. We at Sath provide that software. That's what we started out doing. It's IDHub. And this is the exact this is the exact solution that we provide you. We give you a way to fail fast and iterate faster and get it your way. There's no one right way. There's only one right way, which is your way, the thing that solves your business problems.
That was, by the way, one of the questions that our online audience provided. So how fast can you actually do it?
So if you, let's say One of the metrics that we're looking at is if you have an Active Directory, you can go from nothing to completely IGA request and certification on Active Directory in 30 minutes. So
Minutes, not month.
minutes. We have a demo for that. It's on our website. You can go take it out. Give me an Active Directory in 30 minutes. I'll give you a full IGA implementation on that. That's the speed that I'm talking about.
Okay, sounds really promising. One last question for you then. So, to fail fast, you have to actually have some kind of functional criteria for that. How do you understand that you're doing something wrong in 30 minutes and not in 3 months?
You don't, but that's the exact part. And almost anybody who says this is the right solution, by the time it's implemented, my clients, in my experience, once it's done, like, this is not what I want. So you really don't know. You have to use design thinking. So you kind of know, okay, I want to do my certifications for these SOX applications. You implement that. And then you're like, oh, it'd be nice if I had this additional approval step. You know what? Next 10 minutes, we add another approval step on our workflow, and it goes live. So that's the fundamental question you ask. We don't know where we want to be. And failing fast gets you there because we think this is what we want, we implement it, and it doesn't look like what we want, so let's go change it fast.
So it's not actually failing in a way that you have to step your kind of steps back 6 months.
Right.
You fail, but you recover in 10 minutes.
Right.
To go.
Failure, it's a little overloaded. Yes, it's not exactly failing, it's iterative, but if you had the legacy tools that you are using, that would be a failure because you spent 6 months, hundreds of thousands of dollars or euros in making something work, and approval change then goes ahead and takes another 6 months. That's failure. I mean, in terms of cost and time, that would be a failure. But
Okay, that makes total sense. Well, thank you very much, Arun.